Hi, my name is Jake Elliott, and today I want to be talking to you about managing the different generations in the workforce. The different generations are important to understand as far as who makes up the employees today. The boomers who were born in 1946 to 1964 are the competitive type who are more traditionalists in working their way up in the work environment. The Gen Xers who were born in 1965 to 1977 are more independent and pride themselves on coming into work and working on their own and knocking out what they're assigned to do and getting on with their day. The Gen Ys and Millennials who were born in 1978 or later are our younger generation who's very team oriented and technology savvy. They understand the up and coming trends in the work environment and how they can effectively communicate that to their companies. Integration in the workplace is extremely important as far as mixing these generations, which is very tough to do as far as you saw in the previous slide. Mentoring is probably the best tool we can use as far as getting these generations to understand each other. The older generations can provide knowledge, their experiences, and their background on the company and how it's run and how it's operated. While the younger generation has the opportunity to teach new trends of technology and the up and coming styles of work and how they can be effective in their company. It's important to understand that the workplace is still a learning environment, and these different generations mixing together can be extremely beneficial to a business as they can teach their skill sets and pass them along so each worker can be as efficient as possible. Flexibility is extremely important nowadays more than ever with the mixing of all of these generations. With baby boomers nearing the age of retirement, it's important to allow them the flexibility of possibly taking some time off or decreasing their workload as they can no longer handle the stress of a long workday. Um, as we move on, the flexibility for the Gen Xers is as important as they're in the middle of their lives, and a lot of them have children in school, graduating, and a lot of important life steps for them as well that they're going to need to take some time off to attend to. As far as flexibility from the millennials, this is more about adapting to their lifestyle and how they view the work environment. It will allow them to work offsite in a more comfortable environment as the younger generation is more free-spirited and their idea of working is getting this stuff done on their own time and mixing work with leisure so they can have a social life. A lot of them also have young families and are going to be raising babies and trying to provide for their families and are going to need time off in order to do all these things. The most important part of flexibility throughout these generations is generating results. It doesn't matter how or where the work gets done as long as the results are there. As many of the older generations may prefer to go into the office and knock out their work in the day and then go home as they're more prone to enjoying the general work day, going into a 9 to 5 job and working behind a cubicle. Rather, the younger generation is more free spirited, as I mentioned earlier, and enjoys working from home or working from a Starbucks and really mixing their life and pleasure at the same time rather rather than the older generation contrasting that style. As long as the same scale of success is measured on both ends of the spectrum, the company will be able to run and results will be seen. Innovation between these generations is the most important part of mixing these employees. Company meetings with representatives from each generation will allow ideas to flow, and you'll be able to see the different spectrums of how these different age groups think and what they can do to help the company. Now, with all the variety of ideas, it's important to accept each generation's ideas and thoughts and combine them. As a manager, you can't take the side of the younger generation more than the older generation, or vice versa, just because you think that may be a better idea. While getting the wide spectrum and adjusting based on how they both think and combining those is the best way for a business to run. Communication is probably the most misunderstood part of mixing all of these different age groups and all of these different work styles. As you see from this diagram below, you'll see the preferred methods of communication between all of these generations, where you see the baby boomers saying call me, the Gen Xers saying email me, and the Gen Yers saying text me. The Gen Yers grew up in a generation where they were in constant contact with all of their peers through text messages, instant messages, while the Gen Xers are real traditionalists and have gone with email their entire lives, and the baby boomers adapting just calling. It's important to not misunderstand how each is communicating. While the baby boomers might not even be able to text or know how to text, the Gen Yers see it as one of the most efficient ways to communicate, as they are living very busy lives, and it's just efficient to send a quick text message and remind someone of a meeting, while the baby boomers may think it's more acceptable to call and remind you of a meeting. It's important to not let these styles clash each other and make the communication misunderstood. And that's the most important job of the manager, is to adapt to each of their styles and make communication flow smoothly. In order to mix all these generations as effectively as possible, it's important that each of them understand the common goal of the company, and that each is working to achieve that goal regardless of the work styles each one uses. Each generation is going to see things differently, but as long as they understand what the final target is and how they're going to get there, that's the most important part. Whether you're in the office or not, as long as you're working towards that same goal, it gives the company a chance to succeed. And what's important is the results and how the business is going to flourish. And really mixing all of these skill sets together is extremely effective and is going to be a positive impact on a business in the long run. So what's important is that a company sees all the different employees' work styles and different generations. It's important that they see how they can be used as assets rather than harming them. And that's the biggest challenges for business today, is overcoming the diversity and really seeing how this is beneficial and not hurting a company. With that being said, I hope you enjoyed the presentation and learned a little bit more about how the different generations are managed and how you can make this into a successful business. Thank you.